Cheltenham 2025 is over, and so I wanted to do a quick deep dive into the return on investment of various profitable betting strategies. My name is Tom Brownlee from Bookiebashing.net, and these kind of deep dive videos into the analytics of different strategies, mathematics, and edges in profitable betting is what we do. Maybe you might prefer videos such as this.
Final flight, got it William Manning, 2 lengths down in second place. Keep on straight! The hill, and here's the perfect. Keep on straight! William Manning,
Come on! 10% of the winnings. On the Discord, show me your Insta. You're gonna follow me on Instagram. I'll give you 2,000.
Then you can, maybe go and check out the likes of Mushbet and Pro Sports Advice. One thing I would say, though, is that Pro Sports Advice were invited to come onto this platform just to have a conversation around various edges. They declined and then blocked us because we have every reason to believe that they, in fact, are not profitable tipsters, although they charge a very similar amount for their service as we do over at Bookiebashing, and they have something to hide, because only people with something to hide use a tactic where they block and they do not engage in dialogue. And if anyone wants to engage in dialogue with Bookiebashing or myself, we are more than happy to. So we have a results tool up at Bookiebashing available for everyone to have a play with, whether you're a member or not, because it might help form the basis of a betting strategy. So let's go and have a look at it. I've got it up here. If I can just switch over to the screen, and the date range I'm going to have from Tuesday the 11th of March 2025 to 12, 13, 14 was Gold Cup Day, the Friday, wasn't it? If I choose Cheltenham. Now, we mentioned in a previous video, we've been looking at Kelly staking, a form of staking where you bet higher on perceived bets that are higher value. Let's stick with that just now. We can have a look at other staking strategies in a bit. With a £10,000 bankroll and 25% strategy on the Kelly staking. I'm just looking at Cheltenham. Of course, there were other horse racing meets on last week, but I'm just looking at Cheltenham. And I'm going to start here with the default data metric. The other options I have is I could duplicate the results, because we're looking at results downloaded from the tracker at 12 p.m. across 6 bookmakers: Betfred, Bet365, Ladbrokes, Sky Bet, and Paddy Power. However, I only want to look at a horse once if it was plus EV at more than one bookmaker. I don't want to duplicate it, so no duplicates. Looking at the book odds, because these are each way bets, and I'm going to hide win orbs, because who can bet on those sustainably and keep an account? Now, if I filter the results here, I get 216 bets, and we see a 20.43% return on investment. Now, at this particular festival, I've seen a lot of commentary around that it was very, very difficult to win. It was one of those years where there was, some unusual results, a 100 to 1 winning on the first race in Friday, which actually was plus EV at Bookiebashing under the BB algo metric, albeit it was 100.03% EV, and at 100 to 1 that meant a stake of 1 pence with a £10,000 bankroll, so we can dismiss that. Pretty much neutral EV. But very interesting to see this graph. Now, you might look at this graph, and because this is Kelly staking, you might think, hello, what's this in the middle? And that takes account of quite a lot of the profits for the entire week. There were 216 bets in total, and that area there, that big jump, if you like, was Lecky Watson, who won at 116% EV and accounts for quite a lot of the profits of the week. So I thought what might be quite interesting is, 11 wins from those 216 bets in the 28 races. But what might be interesting is to see what this looks like unit win when we're not staking more on the bets. Are we still ahead then? Do we still have a positive ROI? So change it to unit win. and put in an amount, because of course you're going to win 0 if you're not going to bet to win anything. And we still have a 13.34% return on investment, where we're winning the same amount for every horse. In this example here, we're winning £200 in every horse. So that's quite a healthy Cheltenham Festival graph. I'm glad that it's ahead of both Kelly and Unit Win. The problem with Kelly is perhaps there might just be one very, very, very high equity horse, and if it comes in, that skews the results. So what's interesting here is that depending on the strategy that you use, you do get a different outcome. And it should be noted that in 28 races, there's no real pattern that we can look at and get anything out of that. It's such a small sample size. That's the first thing. So please, I feel slightly awkward doing these videos because I am aware of how small the sample size is on them. Actually, we've had 5 profitable Cheltenhams. That's actually quite lucky. We could easily have an unprofitable Cheltenham, and I know a lot of sharp tipsters did have an unprofitable Cheltenham, and that doesn't mean that the tracker is a losing tracker. So it is a little bit lucky now that we've had 5 profitable Cheltenhams. Certainly, I'm not going to be, if I feel uncomfortable saying that, how uncomfortable would I feel standing on course screaming, I told you, I fucking told you, I told everyone. And when challenged on it, what did he say to me? He said he was the world's greatest and most followed tipster. And that was his proof that he was profitable and didn't have to engage in any dialogue with me. So there you go. No matter how uncomfortable I might feel, that guy just doesn't seem to feel any discomfort. Regardless, that this is the part of the horse racing results tool that I just wanted to show off here. Because if we flip back to Kelly, now what might be interesting, and I haven't actually looked at this, let's filter the results by Kelly, but what happens if we just change the minimum EV to say 105%? The ROI actually dropped. You get down to 111 bets and the ROI dropped down to 18.3%. What about 110%? Now we're dropped to 58 bets across the 4 days. So we're talking, 14 bets a day. But look at that, a whopping 46.8% return on investment. So £1,000 staked, £490. So interesting to see what happens with the EV range there. I'm just going to stick it at 102, which is 25% ROI. And now I'm just going to have minimum odds of 10 to 1. And if we go down that route, the ROI actually drops quite a little bit. What about 20 to 1 or 19 to 1 it would be, but whatever. We get a different ROI here. What about just the big horses, 50 to 1 and above? Well, there were 52 of them, but the ROI actually dropped there, 3.13%, very heavily reliant on those outsiders placing or winning. I did have Golden Ace in a Lucky 15 when I went on the Tuesday at 50 to 1. Now, Golden Ace won. I'll tell you this, in the last race, I could have paid my mortgage off. It doesn't take a lot to happen when you have a 50 to 1 winner in a Lucky 15 for things to start getting very interesting. Sadly, I forget who that was in that race, but I think they are still running this following Monday. Now, just having a look at comparing this year against some previous years, again, with the caveat, these are such small sample sizes, even 20 days worth of data over the 5 years. It's interesting, but I wouldn't be taking too much trend out of this. First of all, we did have a look at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday trends. And for the first time, Thursday wasn't the big day. It was Wednesday, which has bucked the trend. And first losing Gold Cup day on the Friday. This is using the Kelly staking. Now, again, I'm not taking much out of this. I find it interesting, but not notable. And I'm not taking any mathematics out of there. I'm certainly not, ignoring a particular day next year based off this small sample size. Having a look at the number of plus EV horses in each race, we are looking at 216 horses over 28 races. So that is an average of 7 horses a race, 7.7 horses a race. But, the Tuesday 240, which was actually a race we were on track. I remember we got quite a lot of horses down on that. Not quite 18, but there were 18 plus EV horses. Tuesday 2 o'clock was the race where there was only 1 plus EV horse in that one. I think it was on him, and I don't think he placed either. So the difference between Kelly and Unit Win, Kelly staking again outperforms Unit Win. It's not going to do it all the time on every festival because of the small sample sizes. But we did say before the festival started, it's good to try and maximize, push your bets out for liability on higher perceived value bets. And Kelly staking did have, outperform Unit Win yet again. Just looking at the different races here, you see that that race on the Wednesday with Lecky Watson, when we are betting Kelly, really a lot of profit got returned from that single bet. But even if we were Unit Win staking, there's quite a nice consistent profile. It's interesting how in some races, Unit Win, such as the 240 on Thursday, was in profit and Kelly was in the red. And if I play around with different parameters and filters on the results tool, I am going to find things like that. Again, small sample sizes. Look, and also these were just the horses that were downloaded at 12 p.m. every single day across those 6 bookmakers. Literally 0 people will have been on these exact horses, myself included. It's just representative. It is just indicative of the type of profile of bets that we have up on the horse racing tracker at bookiebashing.net. And also, just because we're looking at Cheltenham doesn't mean that that's any more or less profitable than any other of the other meets that are on other weeks, or even on the same days that were on last week. I mean, when I was doing my Lucky 15s, I was actually having a bit of fun concentrating them just to the Cheltenham races. I was actually probably costing myself a little bit of equity in doing that. So if you're interested in sort of these types of analytics and the horse racing tracker, my advice is you can come and sign up at Bookiebashing to either the horse tier or the ultimate tier to get access to this. Bear in mind, as we've said, different strategies are going to highlight different horses for different people. The more important thing is that, over hundreds of thousands of tracked positive EV horses, we have about a 5% return on investment in the long run. Anyone that tells you that they've got 20, 30, 40% return on investment on singles in fields like, horse racing, either has an extremely small sample size, and they might just be quoting a Cheltenham Festival or something like that, which is a small sample size, certainly not hundreds of thousands of bets. Or maybe they just want to scream at the top of their voice that they told you. They fucking told you. Yes, they did. They told us that. What else did they tell us? And what else did they casually forget about?